What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel. If it's your first time here, it's your boy Mansa here for the last video of 2024. And of course, we got to go over my favorite games of the year. Now, I did title it Best Games That I Played This Year, or my favorite games of 2024 that I played, because some games I played didn't come out this year, and I didn't want to just only play games that came out in 2024. There's plenty of stuff I missed either last year or even 10 years ago that I actually enjoyed that I played. So I want to go through that list and then give my top games that did come out this year, and then a few games that I missed that I do want to get back to. So if you're new to the channel, please do consider hitting that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and let's get right into it. Now I want to start off with the games that I played that were older, that didn't necessarily come out in 2024. So first off, we got Dishonored. Now Dishonored is known, from the team over there at Arcane Austin specifically, that is no longer here. Unfortunately, they did get shut down, and I've heard about this series, Dishonored, Dishonored 2, Dishonored Death of the Outsider, and then this was the team that also gave us the much maligned Redfall, which I still have not tried at all. And now Dishonored, it's more in that simulation stealth type of vein, but it was a lot more than that. There was certain abilities you had during it. You didn't necessarily have to just go all stealthy. Like, there were plenty of loud weapons if you wanted to. Certain abilities like controlling rats and taking over robots and floating across the across different ledges and platforms and things like that. So it was definitely a lot going on with it. There was a lot of different twists and turns when it came to the plot and story. So it definitely got me really interested in the rest of the series. So I do want to play the second Dishonored as well as Death of the Outsider. I think I recommend this game to anyone who hasn't tried it yet. Even if you're not necessarily a stealth gamer, you can play this a lot of different ways. So I definitely recommend it. Next up, we had a game that I took so long to finally get to. I think I've owned this game for maybe like 6, 7, maybe 8 years. I think I got it back in 2016. So, and I just never played, or whenever it came out. I think I got it the year after it came out, and that was Sonic Mania. Now with Sonic the movie 3 coming out, of course Sonic is having a resurgence. We had Sonic Superstars last year, we had Sonic Frontiers back in 2022, and this game is more in that 2D Sonic game, but it was actually published by Sega but not developed by Sega. So they did leave the license to Ed Cannon and some other people to actually take their own spin on a 2D Sonic game. Now I'm normally traditionally a 3D Sonic player. I do enjoy the 2D games, but this just really took it to another level with different, pun intended, but with like different action sequences, different animations and things like that. Even them adding a CRT filter to give you that old school look to the game. And I just really enjoyed it, and they really did a good job. Now, it's sad to say that they said there won't be a sequel to this game, but for those who haven't played it yet, play this, enjoy it, and definitely don't take it for granted, because sometimes we get these great projects and we never get sequels. So definitely check out Sonic Mania. Then last up, a game I wanted to mention that I played that I did not get when it originally came out was Alan Wake Remastered. Now I've spoken about Remedy on this channel a few times. I did play Control, I did play Quantum Break, and now I did play Alan Wake. I just bought Alan Wake 2 during the Black Friday sale, and Alan Wake was a really good game. Now the remaster version does still have a bunch of issues with it, as far as like the graphics and sometimes audio going out and things like that, but I still really enjoyed the game. Now this game is at kind of creepy, not necessarily horror all the way, but it definitely is leaning into that, and you pretty much go through the game like a storybook, because you're an author and you're going through your storybook that you wrote. And the game has a few weapons in it, but you're really relying on utilizing the light, your flashlight, flare guns, and things like that to fight these shadow creatures or weaken them, and then being able to use a shotgun or whatever after that. And it took a really crazy turn while playing this game, and just Remedy's one of those really underrated developers, and I'm really excited to try out Alan Wake 2 and see what else is coming from them with Max Payne coming within the next few years. And now, of course, with so many games coming out in the year, there are games that I did start but I did not get to finish, but I do want to, I plan to go back to them. First game on that list was Black Myth Wukong from Game Science. Now this game did sell around 20 million copies, which was insane. It was nominated for a bunch of awards at the Game of the Year awards, and I think it was really good. You know, the action was really good, the story and the mythology and just the attention to detail. And I know some people complain this game is kind of like a boss run type of game, and it kind of is. Like you fight a bunch of smaller enemies and there's a few puzzles and things to unlock and things like that, and then you end up fighting another boss. Like there was probably like 5 or 6 bosses in a chapter. So it did seem like that. You know, there's elements of Souls games, but then also kind of like the Jedi Survivor games, maybe a little Stellar Blade, as far as the action goes and save points and things like that. But definitely want to get back to it. I was streaming it at one point, but the streams were taking like 5-6 hours and things like that. So I do want to eventually finish this game because I do think it's really good and I think everybody should check it out. Next up on that list for games that I started but didn't finish but do plan to get back to is Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess. Now this came from Capcom. It was in Game Pass, and unfortunately Capcom did say the game did not do that well, and that doesn't surprise me considering people are, you know, when it comes to Capcom, they're more used to Mega Man, Devil May Cry, Resident Evil, a few of the, you know, a bunch of these established franchises, and this game was what we called, you know, the artsy kind of take a swing at doing something new kind of game, and it was very stylistic. The art style was really cool, but just the name of the game, the fact that it was more of a tower defense in a sense type of game, you know, I did enjoy my time with it. I only played through I think 2 of the areas, but the way you play the game is you pretty much set up different you know, allies and villagers throughout the level. They kind of have different abilities, whether it's shooting arrows or attacking enemies as they get closer. You get through different objectives and things like that, and then you fight a boss at the end of it. And you know, again, I had no complaints with it. I just, you know, it came out at a time where I was kind of playing a bunch of other stuff and I never got to finish it, but at some point soon I do plan to finish it. And I think everybody should check this game out, whether it's in Game Pass or you know, buy it. Capcom's having a sale right now, so you can get it for a pretty good deal. So I would check it out if I was you. All right, and now with all those out of the way, let's get into my actual top games of 2024 that I played that came out this year. And we're going to start off with number 5. Number 5 is Hellblade 2: Senua's Saga. Yes, the first game we saw when the Xbox Series X was first shown off at the Game Awards back in 2019. This game did finally come out this year, and I enjoyed the first Hellblade. I did finish it earlier this year after trying it a couple years ago, and I really do enjoy the, just if you're looking at it from an experience standpoint, not just a standalone video game experience, then you can really appreciate it. Just the different graphics with the game, the motion capture, the lighting, the use of Unreal Engine 5, the performance. I mean, the voice actor for Senua did win, you know, best performance at the Game Awards, just to show how good the game was as far as that goes. And you know, I understand a lot of people didn't like the fact that it was a lot more cutscenes, you know, just a walking simulator. The puzzles weren't necessarily that difficult, and then the combat was pretty easy, I'm not gonna lie. And I think the first game may have done things a little bit better as far as the variety when it comes to the combat as well as the puzzles, but I just think as an experience overall, like I had no complaints going through it, and I knew exactly what to get from it. I think people were only disappointed if you had higher expectations for the game, and granted, we weren't seeing that much at these trailers and different showcases for the game to show that there was going to be something else going on with it, and that's kind of how I knew what to expect going into it. But either way, Hellblade 2 makes it to number 5 on my list. Next up for number 4, we have Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Yes, this was my first Call of Duty in over a decade, since I was in high school, and it definitely lived up to it. I'm sure I missed out on a few other great Call of Duty games, but this, it just took the cake. I jumped in on the beta back in, I think it was the end of August or early September, and I just really like the campaign. Even like, as far as online multiplayer goes, I did Prestige one time. I haven't really played it recently, but the campaign was really good. And I feel like the Black Ops series, I always low-key liked a little more than Modern Warfare when it came down to all, you know, everything together with campaign, multiplayer, the different other multiplayer ways you could play, zombies, of course, which I haven't tried yet, to be honest, but I just really enjoyed my time with it. Call of Duty, you know, of course, this being the first time that it is on, you know, Xbox. It is the first time since Xbox owns it, technically Modern Warfare 3, but that game was kind of already, in the can. But just saying Black Ops, the series, and Treyarch, what they do with it, or Sledgehammer, whoever worked on this, like, they know how to make a really good campaign. And then when it comes to the online with the Omni movement and things like that, the different changes they've made with eliminations instead of, assists and kills, it's made it a lot more open for a lot of people that may not be super hardcore. So Call of Duty Black Ops 6 makes it to number 4 on my list. Next up for number 3, we have, it's fitting, for number 3, we have Persona 3 Reload. This was my first Persona game that I ever played, even though I owned 4 Golden as well as 5 Royal. And man, this game, it was kind of my introduction to Atlas RPGs, and definitely a strong way to start the year off. This coming out back in February, and I think it was really good. I really enjoyed it. Again, not knowing much about Persona, but just them just not focusing on, just the gameplay, but as well as that, the combat system, the music, the, soundtrack, the style that they've used with this game, it just, all of it coming together, and just, the anime cutscenes, the themes, of course there's the school elements, which a lot of people don't like, but like the social links even, and how that ties into actually powering up your persona and things like that. Just, I think they really hit it out the park. This was a great remake. I've heard, Persona 3 is a lot of people's favorite Persona 3 or 4 is where most people land. Of course, 5 is the most recent, but I think they did a good job modernizing it, not making it seem too old. And it definitely made me want to play 4 Golden as well as 5 Royal. So again, Atlas had a really good year, especially Sega as a whole has been killing it as a publisher, and this Persona 3 Reload definitely had to make it on my list. Now, number 2 on my top 5 for the year is Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. Now, a lot of people were complaining about this being nominated at the Game Awards or anything like that, but to be honest, if I didn't play Elden Ring and Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree back to back, it probably would not have made my list, but I just saw it as one big experience, to be honest. And then you got Night Rain coming out next year, so I had heard people talking about it for what, 2 years ago, over 2 years ago, almost 3 years at this point. And I put in, I think it was 83 hours into the original Elden Ring, and then another 40 into Shadow of the Erdtree. And man, this was literally a whole other game. I know people don't like hearing that, but this was way more than just an expansion. Like, expansions and DLCs have changed a lot over the years as far as, how much content and different mechanics and things they put into these games. You have this, you had Phantom Liberty that came out for Cyberpunk last year, and just, man, this game, I didn't even do every single thing you could in the game, and I still really enjoyed it. I enjoyed exploring. I enjoyed, playing with different builds and learning how to fight different bosses, and some of them harder than others, of course. And yeah, man, Elden Ring took it deserved all the praise that it got for as long as it did, and it had to make number 2 on my list, and it was actually my most played game this year. So Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, number 2. And now the number 1 on my list. If you already been on the channel, you already know what it was. I haven't mentioned the game yet, but if you've been on the channel, you see my most recent video, you already know what it is. I mentioned Atlas a little earlier, right? So we know that the number 1 spot has to go to Metaphor ReFantazio. This game just, it did everything right for me, and I'm happy I played Persona 3 Reload before I played this. I don't know how much I would have actually enjoyed it if I didn't play Persona 3 Reload first, because it just, like, Persona 3 Reload was great, but Atlas just did something completely different with this, from the archetype systems, the whole plot with the thing. And I mentioned how people don't like the whole school elements and things like that with Persona, and Atlas just with Metaphor just said, hey, we're going to take all the elements of what you like from Persona as far as the social links and the personas and things like that, but we're going to band it even more. We're going to have robust archetype systems, different overworld battle systems. We're going to have more expansive and different variety when it comes to the dungeons, and you're not just revisiting the same place over and over again. A way better story, more mature, doing with way more I don't want to down Persona's themes, but just Metaphor just hit all of it. It just did everything correctly, and I really honestly fell in love with the game. I got excited for it over a year ago, and then when it finally came out, I hit the demo up, put 10 hours into that, and then I put around 115 hours of playtime into the main game. And I just, again, check out my review for that. Just everything about Metaphor. I was almost almost jumped off the ledge and put it in my top 10 games ever, because it's just a game that had so much, like the last game that had this much of an impact on just hitting everything that I like as far as games go, and especially in a genre that I'm not too, familiar or fond with. I'm recently getting into JRPGs, or turn-based JRPGs specifically. I've played, action RPGs in the past, but man, it's like they nailed everything. The plot twists, the way the story all comes together, the social links, the art style, the music, the I I said it in my review, but the only thing I had bad to say about it was just, I think the last part of the game, the last like 15 hours or so, just it dragged on a little too long. I think they could have cut that in half, to be honest. Like at every point I was like, is the game over yet? Like I couldn't tell. And until you get that achievement or trophy, let you know the game's over, you haven't beat the game yet. So either way, Metaphor had to be number one. Best game I've played in probably 2 3 years, maybe. Like this and Tears of the Kingdom is the two best games I've played as of the last few years. So definitely Metaphor. Can't say nothing bad about it, for real. Check it out if you haven't. Phenomenal game. Now for the last section of the video, I just want to talk about a few games that I haven't played yet that are on my list. I own them. Now I'll be getting to them sometime soon. First is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Now a lot of people are mad this game came out in December because it should have been nominated for Game of the Year or some other awards. A few people did push their award ceremonies back just to get this game in there. It's come from Machine Games, who made Wolfenstein, and I'm into the Tomb Raider games, not that much Uncharted, but this takes it a little bit further as far as the adventure type of games, because it's more in first person than anything. And I've heard there's not a lot of guns blazing parts of it. Like you can actually get through the game without shooting a gun, and that kind of interests me a little bit. Of course, I don't want it to be completely stealthy, but I heard the AI is not super difficult to get around. That could be good or bad, but I heard nothing but good games about the game, and I plan to check it out and possibly do a review for it on the channel, so do stay tuned for that. Next up, I have Stellar Blade, which I did pick up on Black Friday. Now, of course, I've mentioned earlier with Black Myth Wukong, there was a lot of, this was actually from a Korean company, so some people may think it's Japanese, but it's from a Korean company, Shift Up, who have getting more into these action Souls-like games. We had Liza P last year from a Korean company as well, but this is more in the action side of things, and that, like I said, Jedi Survivor, maybe a little more in that Devil May Cry aspect as far as the action and things like that goes, in the combat. But again, I haven't heard anything bad about this game, except I heard the platforming's a little wonky, but I can get around that as long as the fighting and combat are doing what it needs to do. The visuals look great and everything, so definitely looking forward to checking this one out. Then of course, Sonic Cross Shadow Generations. I did recently play Shadow the Hedgehog for the first time. Shadow's a big person in the Sonic 3 movie that just came out. And Sonic Generation is one of the best. It kind of brought back people liking 3D Sonic games. So them adding a whole Shadow chapter to it. They added some Keanu Reeves, in movie levels with voice acting and everything for the Sonic 3 movie for DLC. So, I'm all for this. I was reluctant to buy it at first because I'm like, I already bought Sonic Generations twice already in the past. But I ended up buying it a third time anyway. Black Friday, got it for like $30, so I couldn't pass up on it. And all in all, realistically, like a good game's a good game. Like I'm not one of those people that like to keep buying over and over again, but hey, sometimes you gotta support the things you like. And that wraps up the last video for 2024. That was my favorite games I did play in 2024. Again, reach back, got some old stuff, got some stuff I started, didn't finish it, things I did beat, and then things I'm looking forward to. So kind of gave you the whole spectrum of how 2024 went for me. I will be doing a video for like my most anticipated games for 2025. That should be probably the next video, maybe the video after that, and talk about some hardware and stuff like that. We got a few things coming up with Doom the Dark Ages, we got GTA 6, of course, we got Avowed, we got Fable, we got the Switch 2 at some point is going to come out. So hey, we got a lot to look forward to 2025. 2024 was definitely great. Of course, people like 2023. a little bit better, but all in all, I think it was a great year. So y'all let me know in the comment section below, what were your favorite games that you played this year, whether it came out this year or not. Y'all just let me know what you're looking forward to for next year. Again, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and I will catch you on the next one.